Hello, and welcome to Whatever Etc. number 12 for Tuesday, May 22nd, 2012. This is a continuation on the third aspect of mindful contemplation, being open to possibility. And we will be continuing on from where I left off in mentioning imaginative variation. Letting go, leap as you envision from the extremes of this beautiful order into the infinite vastness of the encompassing good. In philosophizing as a way of life, in this anarcho-cynicism to which I am talking about, the world slowly regains some of its solidity. Our situatedness clears the field in which our thinking is again permitted a reality of its own. And the habit of being almost too skeptical is replaced with the far more generous activity, the far more enriching activity of fully exploring our curiosity. With opening up to possibility, we lay the ground for engaging our authentic self-actualization. My mentor's great teacher, Karl Jaspers, the German existential philosopher and psychiatrist, called this possible existenz, E-X-I-S-T-E-N-Z, possible existenz, that being, of course, the German variation of the word we use, existence. But it means more than what we mean by existence or mere existence. Possible existenz is the mode of our own grasping where we stand out against and within the broad horizons of encompassing being. Everything that I've related to you in the last few weeks about mindful contemplation moves toward the end of this mindful contemplation being a kind of transcendence. But not transcendence in the sense of escaping the world or escaping the flesh, but rather in the sense of transcending or overcoming the unnecessary obligations we have taken on ourselves, the common knowledge assumptions that blind us to the broader avenues of our action, the habits of escapism in which we refuse to respond to what whole encompassing being offers us in a mindful engagement. At this point, I always like to emphasize how contemplation is a kind of seeing. Never forget this. Contemplation is a kind of seeing. And I said last time that in the technique called phenomenology, accounting for how things appear, we recognize the imagined as having as much reality for consciousness as the perceived. Consciousness does not distinguish between the reality of perception and the reality of imagination. And this has a great deal of consequences for us, and we'll deal with those over the course of the next few weeks or months. But you need to really think in these terms for a little while. Just accept this notion. Please, trust me, just for a little while, accept this notion that consciousness does not distinguish between the reality of perception and the reality of imagination. They are both equally real to consciousness. Insofar as we are seeing, we might refer to using our imagination deliberately as envisioning. Deliberate imagination as envisioning. And just as in a perceived vision, we can move about a visible object to examine it from many different perspectives, we can vary an envisioned thing as well. We can walk about an envisioned, imagined object and get at it from many different perspectives and points along its circumference. Imaginative variation then is real for anarcho-cynics because through it we act deliberately. We choose and we reject. We select from a variety of items those which lead to broader possibilities. And then we manipulate these and we use them in our contemplative exercises to help ourselves be broad in our perspective, to help ourselves be ready for opportunities that might arise. So ask yourself, if you envision something, if you bring to mind something through imagination, what can you change or leave out without losing the integrity of what you are envisioning? For instance, think of a triangle. You have it in mind already. As soon as I say triangle, you have a picture in your mind. What color is it? Is it a solid triangle that's completely black? Is it a triangle that's empty but made of thin black lines? Is it a glowing white triangle? Whatever it is that you may be seeing, vary the color or the construction. And when you do this, what if you vary the color of the black triangle to red? Is it still a triangle? Or what if, rather than being an empty thin line triangle, what if you construct it out of thick red oak or cedar or even gold? Is it still a triangle? Now, I ask you to do this exercise. Take in mind your varied triangle, that you varied from its original color to another color, that you varied from its original construction to another material construction in your imagination. Now, do this. Take away one angle. Whatever you've already varied it to be, now see it with 2 angles only, not 3 angles. Do you still have a triangle? Well, obviously, by definition, a triangle is 3 angles, 3 interior angles. Even imagination can only see things within certain parameters. The ability to imagine is almost infinite. Almost. For instance, if I say, imagine a square circle or a round square, you might try to see it, but sooner or later you grasp the futility of such an exercise. As powerful and nearly almost infinite as our imagination can be, you cannot imagine a square circle. The more you work with your mindful ability to speculate or to envision, the quicker impossible contradictions will collapse without you wasting time on them. For instance, at this point in my life, when someone asks me to conceive of something that is actually a contradiction, like a square circle, I might actually take a moment and not just reject it out of hand because I know that the terms are mutually exclusive as descriptors of each other, right? But I might take a moment to try to imagine it, but in that instant of trying to actually contemplate it, I am automatically met by a black wall. And the reason that I'm met by a black wall is that after 20 years of developing my imaginative variation abilities for mindful contemplation, contradictions show themselves almost automatically. And this brings me to an exercise for perfecting your meditative abilities. We've been attending to the world as it happens. We've been focusing on our actual situatedness. And now I've been asking you to open up to possibilities. Now let's try to start perfecting or working on our imagination so that it's not just used merely to escape, or it's not just used merely to remember, to see something that a way of being that might have been nicer if you'd gotten that job, or if you'd gotten that's something that we'll deal with a little later on. Right now what we need to do is to work on how to make our imagination stronger. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you to do is to do an exercise in which you'll spend 20 minutes today trying to imagine a square circle. Now, I know that I just said that imagining a square circle is going to end up being a waste of time because it's a contradiction, but if you accept what I say without trying to take ownership through your own mindful activity, then you're just getting back into the habit of common knowledge. And that is not what I'm trying to get across here. So I want you to take 20 minutes today, get by yourself, and do this. Start with a circle. Get it clearly in your mind. Vary the circle's color, vary the circle's construction, but keep the circle in your mind. After you get it to a point where it's solid, I want you to begin morphing the circle into a square. And after you've done this exercise a few times, it shouldn't take you more than 5 or 6 minutes to get to a point where you see the ease with which you can go from varying the circle as a circle and then varying the circle from one shape into the shape of a square. Then I want you to take that square and I want you to vary its color and its construction. And after you've done that for a little bit, I want you to remorph the square into a circle. And after you've gotten very familiar with making circles and making squares in your mind, I want you to think how the circle can be a square or the square can be a circle. I want you to think about the square circle or the round square. And I want you to experience the contradiction that arises. And now I would very much welcome if you do this, and I hope you will really do this, because I don't want you to just take what I say and not do these exercises. I want you to own this thinking. If you do this, I hope that you will get on to the Whatever Etc. Fan page at Facebook, or onto my Facebook page, or the blog, or even, if you want to post your own video response. I hope that you will share with all of us your experiences of doing this exercise. And with that, I'll leave you until our next podcast, when we'll discuss using imaginative variation and the techniques of free fantasy to deliberately modulate aspects of human existence, of the possibilities of human existence through mindful contemplation. Tranquilitas et bonum vobiscum. Tranquility and goodness be with you today and every day.